In a realm where winter's chill was matched only by the harsh truths of power and betrayal, Westeros lay battered and broken in the aftermath of Robert's rebellion. The once mighty tapestry of noble houses had been torn asunder by bloodshed and ambition, leaving behind a fractured kingdom desperate for renewal. In this time of transition, a man of unyielding honor, Eddard Stark of Winterfell, found himself thrust into a destiny he never sought. A man who had long eschewed the allure of power, Ned's quiet strength and steadfast sense of duty were about to transform the very fabric of the Seven Kingdoms. This is the story of a reluctant hero who, by fate's ironic twist, ascended the Iron Throne and redefined what it meant to lead. The embers of war still glowed in the hearts of men when rumors began to circulate through the corridors of the Red Keep. Robert Baratheon, whose legend had been forged on the battlefields and in the rowdy halls of revelry, had come to embody the paradox of a warrior king. His reign was marked not by the meticulous care of governance, but by the raw, impulsive drive of a soldier who cared little for courtly protocol. Even as he had toppled a dynasty with the force of his will, Robert had grown to despise the endless paperwork, the bitter politics, and the heavy responsibilities that came with ruling. One evening, in a private chamber, lit only by the flickering light of torches, Robert confessed his inner torment to his closest confidant. "I have never been a king in the true sense of the word," he admitted, his voice rough with both weariness and regret. "I was made for the clash of swords, for the heat of battle. Sitting on this iron thronos, cold, unyielding seat of power, it feels like a prison of duty." In that moment of vulnerability, Robert's eyes, which had once burned with the passion of conquest, now reflected sorrow and self-reproach. He saw in Ned Stark not only the honor of a true leader, but also the promise of a man who could mend the broken bonds of the realm. Ned Stark listened silently, his gaze steady and his heart heavy with memories of the ancient North. He had always believed that true leadership was born of duty rather than ambition. Though he had never desired the crown, the gravity of Robert's confession stirred something deep within him, a responsibility to the people of Westeros, a commitment to restore justice to a land scarred by war. With a measured calm, Robert offered the unthinkable, "Take the throne, Ned. I have never been suited for this life. Let someone who understands honor rule our broken kingdom." It was a moment that would change the destiny of the realm. In accepting the crown, Ned was not embracing a mantle of power for its own sake, but rather accepting the burden of responsibility, determined to heal a land torn apart by the excesses of the past. In that quiet chamber, far from the raucous celebrations of war, the fate of Westeros began to take a new shape, defined not by ambition, but by honor. For Ned Stark, the proposition was both shocking and inevitable. A man of unassuming virtues and steadfast loyalty, he had always maintained that the realm's people deserved more than a ruler driven by personal desire for power. Yet as he stood in the vaulted halls of King's Landing, the crown he had once seen as an instrument of tyranny now shimmered with the possibility of redemption. Its blattice words, forged from the steel of ancient conflicts, were a reminder of the heavy cost of power and the even heavier price of neglecting duty. Though reluctant, Ned accepted the crown. His ascension was not marked by fanfare or brazen displays of ambition, but by the quiet determination of a man who believed that the true measure of a ruler was his willingness to sacrifice his own desires for the greater good. "If I must wear this crown," he murmured, "I will bear it as I have borne every burden in my life with honor and a steadfast heart." And so, under the watchful eyes of lords and commoners alike, Ned Stark's destiny was sealed. The Iron Throne was no longer a symbol of brute force and conquest. It had become a promise of justice and renewal. Yet challenges lay ahead. Unlike Robert, whose claim to power had been buttressed by the deep lineage of Targaryen blood, a tenuous but potent link to the once mighty Dragonlord's Ned's heritage was plain and unadorned, a testament to the simple, unyielding values of the North. The High Lords, whose power was built on centuries of tradition and the sanctity of bloodlines, eyed the new king with skepticism. Their whispered doubts and furtive glances, in the dim light of the Red Keep, promised that Ned's rule would not be accepted without struggle. But for the common folk, for whom honor and decency mattered more than ancient lineage, the new reign offered a glimmer of hope, a future where rulers cared for their people rather than indulging in excess. With the weight of the crown pressing upon his brow, King Ned set about his first decrees with deliberate care. His mind, as sharp and unyielding as the ancestral blade ice, turned quickly to matters of justice that had long been neglected under the rule of tyrants. Foremost among his priorities was the appointment of a trusted hand, a role of immense responsibility and delicate diplomacy. Without hesitation, Ned chose Jon Arryn, a man whose wisdom and experience had guided him through many trials. Jon Arryn's counsel, steeped in the somber lessons of loss and honor, would prove vital as Ned endeavored to mend the torn fabric of the realm. The first bold act of King Ned's new order was the execution of a long-standing symbol of cruelty. Gregor Clegganeth Mountain, whose reign of terror had left an indelible stain on Westeros, was condemned to death. With ice in hand, Ned himself delivered the sentence, sending a clear message. The old ways of impunity and brutality were over. Even as word of this act of retribution rippled through the kingdom, the delicate balance of power was already showing signs of strain. Among the noble houses, few were as impervious to change as the Lannisters, whose patriarch Tywin had long manipulated the undercurrents of power from behind the scenes. Tywin's silent fury at the execution was tempered only by the cold logic that any open defiance could plunge the realm into further chaos. Thus began the arduous task of reshaping a kingdom built on ancient grudges and perpetual suspicion. Ned's reforms were not merely acts of punishment, but were the first steps toward a new system of governance, where justice was tempered by mercy, and every decree was weighed against the cost to the realm's fragile unity. In the shadow of the new regime, the issue of broken oaths and personal betrayals loomed large. For Ned Stark, honor was not an abstract ideal, it was a sacred code, a guiding light that had sustained him through a lifetime of hardship and sacrifice. The memory of vows broken and promises shattered was a constant reminder of the darkness that had once consumed the realm. One name, in particular, haunted him: Jaime Lannister. Once a knight of the Kingsguard sworn to protect the realm, Jaime had not only forsaken his sacred oath, but had also played a pivotal role in the events that led to the fall of the Targaryen dynasty. In a private council with his most trusted advisors, Ned wrestled with the painful question of how to punish such a transgression. The instinct for vengeance warred with the wisdom of restraint. His friend and mentor, Jon Arryn, counseled caution. To execute a man solely for breaking an oath, Arryn intoned softly, may sow seeds of chaos far greater than the initial crime. After long deliberation, and mindful of the need to maintain stability, Ned decided that Jaime would be stripped of his rank and sent to the Night's Watch, a punishment designed to neutralize his threat without inciting open rebellion among the powerful houses. In doing so, Ned affirmed that while justice must be served, it must also be tempered by the wisdom of what was best for the realm. As King Ned's reforms took root, a more insidious challenge began to emerge, born of the ancient traditions that had long dictated who was worthy of rule. Robert Baratheon's claim to the throne had rested in part on the legacy of Targaryen blood, a tenuous but politically potent link to the dragons of old. In contrast, Ned Stark's lineage was humble and unadorned, lacking the mythical fire that had once captivated the hearts of the realm's people. In a world where legitimacy was measured in both blood and honor, Ned's ascension was met with murmurs of dissent among the High Lords and powerful families. The doubts of the nobles were not easily silenced. In the dark corridors of King's Landing, whispers of rebellion and insurrection grew louder as those with vested interests in the old order began to conspire. Yet for the common people, those who had long suffered under the weight of injustice, Ned's commitment to fairness and duty was a beacon of hope. His efforts to bridge the gap between the old and new orders were further complicated by a series of revelations hidden deep within the ancient records of the Citadel. While poring over dusty scrolls and long-forgotten tomes, Ned discovered a secret that would shake the very foundations of the realm: the existence of a hidden heir, a child born of forbidden love and cloaked in mystery. This child, whose very existence defied the rigid dictates of noble lineage, possessed the unmistakable spark of Targaryen blood, a secret legacy that could either heal the wounds of the past or reopen old scars. With the revelation came a profound dilemma. To acknowledge this hidden truth was to risk plunging the kingdom into further uncertainty, yet to deny it would be a betrayal of everything Ned had fought to preserve: the sanctity of truth and honor. Far from the intrigue of King's Landing, in the remote reaches of the kingdom, the Tower of Joy stood as a silent witness to the tragedies of the past. Once a battlefield and a place of dire consequence, the tower had long been shrouded in mystery and sorrow. It was here that Ned's destiny intertwined with the secrets of his family, where he would finally confront the hidden legacy that had haunted him for so long. Guided by a mixture of duty and trepidation, Ned journeyed to the Tower of Joy, a pilgrimage to unearth the truth that had been carefully hidden away from prying eyes. Within the ancient crumbling walls of the tower, he encountered those who had long guarded the secret of the forbidden child. The atmosphere was heavy with memories and unspoken pain. There, in a chamber lit by the dim glow of flickering torches, Ned finally laid eyes upon the child whose destiny was entwined with that of the Relma child, whose eyes burned with the quiet fire of the long-lost Dragon Lords. In that singular, heart-wrenching moment, the truth became undeniable. This was Jon, the secret heir whose existence had the power to unite or forever divide the kingdom. The revelation was both a blessing and a curse. For years, the hidden child had been shielded from the brutal realities of court politics, a safeguard against the wrath of those who would see the Targaryen legacy extinguished. Now, with the truth laid bare, Ned was forced to reconcile the demands of his honor with the political necessities of the realm. With a heavy heart, he made the fateful decision to reveal Jon's true identity, not as a mere bastard hidden away in shame, but as the rightful heir to a legacy that stretched back to the days when dragons ruled the skies. With the revelation of Jon's heritage echoing through the corridors of power, Westeros stood at a crossroads. The realm, already teetering on the edge of discontent, was now faced with a choice that would determine its future for generations to come. King Ned, ever the man of honor, resolved that he would step down as the active ruler and serve as regenta guardian entrusted with the realm's stability until Jon came of age to assume the crown. In a public proclamation that resonated with both sorrow and hope, he declared, "I stand before you not as a king clinging to power, but as a steward of our future. Jami Ward, my kin will be the bridge between the old ways and a new dawn. Until he is ready, I shall remain the guardian of this realm." The announcement sent shockwaves through the halls of the Red Keep and beyond. While some nobles seethed at the thought of relinquishing power to a hidden heir, many among the common people embraced the prospect of a future where the past was acknowledged, rather than erased a future where honor, not blood, would guide the destiny of the Seven Kingdoms. But the challenges were far from over. The powerful houses, long entrenched in their own ambitions, eyed this new order with suspicion. The Lannisters, in particular, viewed the restoration of Targaryen blood as a threat to the delicate balance of power they had carefully maintained for decades. Tywin Lannister, whose cold intellect and relentless ambition had long been the backbone of his family's influence, now found himself forced to navigate a realm where old loyalties were fraying and new alliances were forming. Yet even as discontent stirred among the highborn, Ned's unwavering commitment to justice began to win the support of many who had long yearned for a ruler of substance. In the wake of his bold proclamations and sweeping reforms, King Ned now Regent embarked on the arduous task of reuniting a kingdom torn apart by years of war and betrayal. The challenges were manifold. Old wounds, both physical and emotional, festered in the hearts of the people. The scars of Robert's impetuous reign and the cruelty of previous tyrants had left deep fissures in the social fabric of Westeros. Yet Ned's vision was clear. A realm governed not by fear and cruelty, but by the principles of fairness, compassion, and unwavering honor. Determined to bring lasting change, Ned set about restructuring the kingdom's laws and institutions. He convened councils in every corner of the realm, inviting representatives from all the great houses and even from the common folk. In these gatherings, he listened intently to the grievances of the people, seeking to bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots. The reforms he introduced were both radical and measured-day delicate, balancing act that sought to reconcile centuries of tradition with the urgent need for progress. Among his first acts was the appointment of trusted advisors who embodied the spirit of the new order. Jon Arryn, whose wisdom had guided Ned through the darkest hours, continued to serve as the chief counselor, ensuring that every decision was steeped in both prudence and empathy. Meanwhile, emissaries were sent to the distant regions, from the wind-swept plains of the Stormlands to the lush orchards of the Reach, bearing messages of reform and unity. These diplomatic overtures were designed not only to soothe old rivalries, but also to forge a sense of shared destiny in a realm that had long been divided by suspicion and self-interest. Yet the journey toward reconciliation was fraught with peril. In the shadowed corners of the capital, plots and intrigues simmered as ambitious nobles sought to exploit the uncertainties of the new regime. Whispers of rebellion spread among those who had once thrived in the chaos of war. Some lords, emboldened by their own ambitions, began to question whether the era of the honorable king was truly compatible with the ruthless realities of political power. Despite these challenges, Ned's steadfast resolve and unyielding commitment to the common good inspired hope in those who believed that a better future was possible. The path to a united Westeros was paved with difficult choices and delicate compromises. As regent, Ned recognized that the long-term stability of the realm depended not only on reforming its institutions, but also on forging alliances that transcended old grudges. With the revelation of Jon's true heritage now a matter of public record, the time had come to build bridges between the fractured factions of the kingdom. Ned reached out to the noble houses one by one, extending offers of reconciliation and partnership. The Tyrells, whose influence stretched across the fertile lands of the Reach, saw in Ned's vision the promise of a prosperous future. In quiet meetings held in the verdant gardens of Highgarden, Ned and the Tyrell leaders discussed ways to harness the kingdom's resources for the common good rather than for personal gain. Similarly, the Baratheon remnant scattered and disillusioned after the tumult of Robert's reign found solace in the prospect of restoring honor to their family name. Even among the remnants of Targaryen loyalists, whose hearts still beat for the legacy of dragons and ancient fire, there emerged a cautious hope that the old wounds might someday heal. Despite these diplomatic successes, dark forces still lingered on the horizon. In the Riverlands and the Stormlands, discontent brewed among lords who felt marginalized by the new order. Rumors of independence and rebellion swirled like autumn leaves in the wind, threatening to ignite conflicts that could shatter the fragile peace. Yet Ned, ever mindful of the delicate balance between justice and order, remained resolute. He understood that true leadership required not only the enforcement of law, but also the nurturing of hope that could only take root in a realm where every voice was heard and every grievance addressed. Beyond the political machinations and statecraft, the personal toll of leadership weighed heavily on King Ned's soul. The sacrifices required of a ruler of his stature were profound, and the loneliness of power was a constant companion. Even as he strove to heal the wounds of a broken kingdom, his own heart bore scars from a lifetime of loss and regret. Memories of Winterfell, the ancestral home of the Starks, where honor was a way of life and family bonds were unbreakable, haunted him. The stark beauty of the North, with its endless snows and rugged landscapes, was a world away from the treacherous intrigue of King's Landing. Yet it was within the crucible of personal loss that Ned found the strength to persevere. His beloved wife, Catelyn, and his children each, a living reminder of the values he held dear, remained his anchors in the turbulent sea of politics. Even as he faced mounting challenges and the ever-present threat of betrayal, the love of his family provided a counterbalance to the bitterness of court intrigue. It was this bond, forged in the cold fires of Winterfell, that inspired him to continue his arduous journey toward justice. In a quiet moment of reflection, as the winter winds howled outside the Red Keep, Ned resolved that the legacy he would leave behind must be one of honor and integrity. He would not allow the sins of the past to dictate the future. Instead, he would shape a new Erewhon in which the weight of duty was shared by all, and the promise of a better tomorrow was built upon the foundation of truth. Years passed, and the realm slowly began to heal. King Ned's regency became a time of transformation, a period during which the old ways were challenged, and a new order emerged from the ashes of a war-torn past. The reforms he enacted touched every facet of life in Westeros. Laws were rewritten to ensure that justice was administered with both fairness and compassion. Taxes were restructured to alleviate the burdens on the common folk, allowing the realm's resources to be used for the betterment of all, rather than for the lavish indulgences of the few. As the people of Westeros began to feel the tangible benefits of Ned's policies, hope blossomed in even the darkest corners of the kingdom. In the bustling streets of King's Landing and the remote villages of the north, whispers of a new era filled the air. Yet, as with any transformative period, not all were ready to embrace change. The powerful houses, still scarred by centuries of tradition and rivalry, harbored doubts about a future built on ideals that seemed at odds with the old order. In the corridors of the Red Keep, the tension was palpable. Every decision made by the regent was met with both admiration and suspicion, and the specter of rebellion remained ever present. Amidst these turbulent times, the hidden Erjon, whose destiny had been revealed in the quiet solitude of the Tower of Joy, grew into his role as the beacon of the new dynasty. Nurtured by those who believed in honor above all else, Jon learned the intricacies of leadership under the careful tutelage of King Ned. The revelations of his true lineage, once a closely guarded secret, had now become the cornerstone of a vision for the future. It was a vision in which the old wounds of the past would be healed by the strength of unity and the promise of a just, compassionate rule. And so, as the years of regency gave way to the dawn of a new era, King Ned made the difficult decision to step down from active rule. With a heavy yet resolute heart, he declared that his time as the guardian of the realm was coming to an end. The mantle of power would now pass to Jon, who, by virtue of his heritage and the wisdom imparted by his mentor, was ready to lead. In a coronation that was as much a celebration of the future as it was a tribute to the sacrifices of the past, Jon ascended the Iron Throne, heralding the dawn of a dynasty that sought to merge honor with progress. The coronation of Jon, the rightful heir, now known as Aemon Targaryen I, was a momentous occasion that captured the hearts of the realm. The great hall of the Red Keep, draped in banners that bore the symbols of both the old and the new, resonated with the collective hopes of a kingdom reborn. The air was thick with anticipation as lords and commoners alike bore witness to the passing of the torch's symbolic gesture that marked the culmination of years of struggle and the beginning of a future defined by justice. As Aemon took his place upon the Iron Throne, he did so not as a conqueror, but as a leader forged in the crucible of hardship. His eyes, alight with determination and tempered by the wisdom of his mentor, scanned the assembled multitude. With a calm and measured voice, he vowed to honor the legacy of those who had come before him and to chart a course that would unite the realm under the banner of truth and compassion. King Ned, now a revered figure in the annals of Westerosi history, stepped back to assume the role of advisorial role that would allow him to continue guiding the realm from the shadows while the new king took center stage. The transition was smooth, yet not without its challenges. The old rivalries simmered beneath the surface, and every decision was scrutinized by those who had long held power in the name of tradition. Still, the reforms that had been set in motion by Ned's regency continued to bear fruit. The people, inspired by the promise of a new era, rallied behind their king, and slowly but surely, the wounds of the past began to mend. In the years that followed, the story of what might have been of a reluctant wolf who had risen to wear the crown not through ambition but through duty became the stuff of legend. Historians, poets, and storytellers passed down the tale of King Ned's transformation from the honorable Lord of Winterfell into the guardian of a fractured realm, a man whose sacrifices had paved the way for a future built on principles of justice and integrity. The legacy of his regency, marked by hard-won reforms and a steadfast commitment to the common good, was remembered as a turning point in the history of Westeros, a moment when honor triumphed over treachery and the flame of hope was rekindled in the hearts of the people. Under the reign of King Aemon Targaryen I, the realm entered an era of cautious optimism. Though challenges remained and the specter of ancient rivalries still lingered, the people of Westeros found solace in the knowledge that their future was being forged not by the whims of fate, but by the deliberate, honorable choices of their leaders. The Iron Throne, once a symbol of brutality and conquest, had been transformed into an emblem of responsibility, a reminder that true power lay not in the might of armies or the cold steel of swords, but in the integrity of those who bore it. As the years turned into decades, the tale of King Ned's selfless act of passing on the crown became a guiding light for future generations. His life, a testament to the belief that honor and duty are the true measures of a ruler, continued to inspire those who dreamed of a realm where justice reigned supreme. In every whispered legend, in every raucous song sung in the taverns of the north and the bustling streets of King's Landing, the spirit of the Honorable Stark endured a legacy that reminded all who heard it that even in the darkest of times, the light of truth and compassion could guide a nation toward a brighter tomorrow. And so the question, what if Ned took the Iron Throne, was answered not with regret or sorrow, but with the enduring flame of a Nora flame that burned brightly in the hearts of all who believed that a leader's worth is measured not by the crown they wear, but by the integrity with which they rule. In the annals of Westerosi history, the era of King Ned's regency and the subsequent ascension of Aemon Targaryen I became a beacon of hope, a reminder that even amidst chaos and despair, a single act of noble sacrifice could set in motion a legacy that would outlast the ravages of time. As the realm moved forward into an uncertain future, the story of the Stark Wolf, who had once shunned power in favor of duty, remained a timeless parabolia call to every ruler and every subject alike to cherish honor above all else. For in a world where the line between heroism and tyranny is often blurred, it is the steadfast commitment to truth, compassion, and justice that ultimately shapes the destiny of nations.